Hello, welcome to this first in our series of tutorials on screenwriting with Karel Segers. Hello, Karel.
Hi, Phil.
The first thing we're going to talk about today is screenwriting tools, software. Yeah?
Yeah, unfortunately that's what a lot of screenwriters think about first, because I have the feeling that some people think that once they've bought Final Draft, they are a screenwriter. So let's live in that illusion for...
So Final Draft is like the writing tool that everyone aspires to, basically. So if you've got that, you must be serious.
It's an industry leader, has been for a very long time. It's still being used in Hollywood. If you send files to producers there, they expect you to send Final Draft. Once a script is done, it goes to PDF and it doesn't matter. You shouldn't be able to tell which software the script was written on. And that's what I tell my students. You know.
So is Final Draft the best? What are the other ones like? What other ones do we have to choose from?
Well, Final Draft is the best known. It's definitely not the best. And it kind of changes over the years, which one is the best. But I don't want to talk about Final Draft for the first minute or two.
What alternatives are there then?
Well, I would say people should first think about a story and buy a piece of software that helps telling that story. And there are a few really good ones. I used to use something called Power Structure. You can get that now for $100. Power Structure helps you to divide your story into acts and sequences and scenes, and you can move them around, and you can even build a really cool conflict graph. So for each scene, you set a level of conflict. So if your most suspenseful scene is 100, because that's the top, and this is the scene that you haven't figured out how you're going to write it, it's still 0, then you can map your whole story on a graph.
So this is not so much a screenwriting tool as a brainstorming.
Well, they're not. No, you can go all the way to the script,
okay.
but it's way beyond brainstorming. It's actually where your story shapes up. So that's Power Structure. There's a similar piece of software. It's called Movie Outline. It's a little bit niftier, looks a little bit flashier. It does the same thing, and they're equally strong as Power Structure. You can finish with your script. So you can, once you've got all your scenes laid out, you can actually write the dialogue and the description in that same software and export it to an RTF file, but that is properly formatted.
Right, and it supports. These all support PDF as well, do they?
Yes, they all do. And they all have light versions. You know, you can do Final Draft on the iPad. There's a light version of Movie Outline you can get for $50 instead of the $200. Right. And then there's this monster.
This one I've used actually. Yeah.
You have used.
Yes.
Well, you are brave, but then again, you have got a Shakespeare T-shirt on. I don't. Dramatica is something. Yeah, it asks you a lot of questions, like 700 questions.
It's really meant for novelists more, though. This one, isn't it?
I think so.
It's a bit more full on.
Yeah, I think so. There's screenwriters who swear by it, but I don't. And then we get to the actual writing of the screenplay and Final Draft. It's still quite expensive at $249 recommended retail price, but
$199
through me. I mean, I'm an official reseller, so you can get it for $50 cheaper through the story series.
So contact Karel on his Twitter address, which you'll see coming up soon.
That's Final Draft. What's good about it is it's got everything. You can co-write online with it if you want to. You can run reports on props, on actors, on locations, that sort of thing. Now, there is this little thing coming up, and the students here know it very well. It's getting bigger and better. It's called Celtx. It's free. The basic version is free. It used to be entirely free, but now, obviously, they're going with that whole...
There's a pro upgrade.
Freemium thing, So now, if you want the same features as Final Draft, I think you're going to be expending pretty much the same.
I quite like Celtx, in fact, because you can... as part of, aside from writing the script, you can put into it the props you're going to use, the locations, photographs. You can become a whole pre-production tool.
And you can buy the upgrades as your career progresses. Because you start out, you don't need to spend money. I always say, don't spend money on software until you're making money, because there are free options out there, and Celtx is a really good one. I've actually worked with the guys, so.
Oh, okay.
They're Canadians and they're lovely. I can highly recommend the software.
And it's actually my software, my screenwriting software of choice at the moment.
There you go.
There you go.
And then, not to forget, it's been around as long as Final Draft, I think. I think it was Francis Ford Coppola who advertised this for a long. They used his face for many, many years.
Movie Magic,
which
has been around for a while.
Screenwriter. So you've got Movie Magic budgeting and you've got Movie Magic scheduling. This Movie Magic Screenwriter, it's really good. It's really powerful. I think it's even more powerful than Final Draft. It's not as commonly used. What I did like about it, because I use everything for my students and clients. Their support team is excellent, and the support team for Final Draft is not so good.
I also found when I did use Final Draft, it tended to crash on me.
Yeah. Well, it has had bugs. It's improved. They all do. They all crash, particularly when they have big changes in the software. Now there are people who don't use any of this. There's people who use Word and get by perfectly. I have a good friend who writes his screenplays in InDesign. Adobe InDesign.
Really?
Yes, he does. He knows that program so well that for him, and you can't tell when he sends you a screenplay. It looks like he's written it on Final Draft. And I have started using Scrivener. Scrivener is a beautiful little word processor. I mean, it is very powerful. Only costs $50. Has one downside for me. It doesn't use scene numbers in the same way Final Draft does. Other than that, I love it. That's my software.
Just to finish up with, what's the main thing you expect from a good screenwriting software?
It's got to be transparent. You shouldn't be thinking about it. You're writing and you can format your scenes or you can shape your story without having to fiddle with the software.
Without having to worry about the formatting.
Exactly.
As well, yeah.
It needs to do that for you, and you've got to be writing just in the flow.
That's right. And this is what makes these programs different to just Word on its own, where there's a specific format which we'll get into in another tutorial.
You actually pay more for a software that does less.
Does less, but does that less bit especially much better.
That's right.
Thank you very much, Karel.
You're welcome.
See you next time on A Girl and a Gun in our series on tutorials on writing.